Welcome to Tell Me Your Story, new paradigms for a new world where we're giving you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. We are here 9 times a week, Sundays at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., Monday mornings at 1 a.m., Wednesdays at 9 a.m., and Monday through Friday from 8 to 9 a.m., streaming live at all those times at richarddugan.com. We are on SoundCloud, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, Stitcher, Player FM, as well as YouTube, where you can watch these conversations. I hope that you will take time to subscribe and click notifications so that when a new conversation is posted, you'll be notified and you'll be able to tune in, listen in, and learn, be entertained and inspired. A reminder that Choices, which is my book, 5 Steps for Life, it's available on Amazon.com in paperback, hardcover, and Kindle with Audible, soon to be released. We also ask that if you can support the work that we are doing financially, we do have a PayPal account. It is there for your security as well as ours. And when they ask for an email address to whom you're sending, please go to richard@richarddugan.com. That's the email address. If you go to richarddugan.com, there is also a link directly to PayPal so that you can send us whatever support you can. And we thank you to those who have helped and to those who will help. We also ask that you take time during this decade of perfect vision, the 2020s, to go within to that quiet, peaceful, calm, still place and listen to that still, small voice. And with that, we now take you to our very special interview and guest here on Tell Me Your Story. And welcome to Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World. I'm Richard Dugan, your host, my very special guest, returning guest, to talk to us more about the work that she is doing. And it is Lisa, and is it Campion?
Campion. Just like champion without the H.
I like that, Champion. Speaking of which, you've got a new book out called The Art of Psychic Reiki. And we are kindred spirits from the standpoint that my wife and I are both Reiki masters. Of course, our training goes all the way back to I think it was the late 1990s, which is a few lifetimes ago. But I've always been intrigued by energy work and by allowing ourselves, you and my wife and I, allowing ourselves to be used, if you will. We choose to be used, so it isn't really being used by the universe to help others, to find their path, their direction, their healing, their wellness, if you will. Is that kind of how you look at it?
Yeah, it is really. I think that's a great description. And I think so many people these days are feeling called to be a healer, feeling that that's their purpose. They're kind of waking up, having a spiritual awakening. Maybe they're doing Reiki, maybe they're doing yoga or meditation. I always say yoga, Reiki, and meditation are the 3 gateways that introduce us into sort of the spiritual world or create a spiritual opening in us. And I think when we do that, many people feel like it's part of their mission to help, to be of service, to become a healer. And I think Reiki offers such a powerful way to do that. To not only can you work on yourself and do some self-healing, but you can find some really beautiful ways to help other people by using Reiki.
Well, there are so many different modalities out there. I mean, that's kind of how I refer to them as.
Yeah.
And I really am excited about learning some of these as I get older, or if not learning about them, at least finding out about how they work so that maybe I can incorporate them into my life and so forth. And I'm constantly wanting to, especially with my wife, wanting to help her, wanting to I mean, it's almost a second nature for us. When one of us isn't feeling good, we automatically shift into that first of the 3 steps, the 3 modes, if you will. And sometimes we'll raise our hands up. Sometimes we'll just put the palms up, laying on the bed next to her, and just sending that energy. Use it. I know you want to feel better, so use it to feel better, whatever it is that your intent is, and so forth. Have you found yourself doing that in your day-to-day life, aside from your practice where you actually do absentee or and in-person types of healings for people.
Yeah, for sure. Just like you, Richard, I learned Reiki and it was 1999. And my daughter, it was the year my daughter was born. It's a long time ago. She's 27 now, but and I used Reiki all the time on my kids. They loved it when they were little. They're all adults now, but putting them to bed, tucking them in, giving them some Reiki. I think it's really great to Reiki your pets if you have pets or your plants. I love plants. I'm a gardener, so I Reiki my plants, your food before you eat it. Reiki your bottle of water before you drink it. And I just think once we have the attunement, everything that we touch becomes infused with Reiki. And it's such a beautiful way to spread it around. And I teach in my book, I talk about in my book something that I call kitchen table Reiki, which is like where your friend comes over and they're crying because they're having a thing and you're sitting at the kitchen table. So you give them Reiki. And it like, it's one of the, I think, best things we can do when people aren't feeling well. That we have something to offer that connects up higher. We're connecting to really divine sources of unconditional love, and we don't have to give up our energy because Reiki fills us with this unconditional love, and we become like a conduit. And that's what you were saying. When you're saying it, like use me, like it flows through us, like we're a conduit into the people we're working on. It's such a beautiful practice.
And there's another element to Reiki that, and again, actually, there's even more than that. But this one in particular, it's not just giving yourself or another person Reiki. You can also send Reiki to a situation, which I wish I had done more of over the last 5 months of looking for a new home and then finding this house we're living in now and Reikiing the process so that it would just do what it needed to do and we could focus on the packing and the getting ready to move in and so on and so forth and not being so stressed because we were. But that's a unique aspect to Reiki in this respect that you can send it to situations.
You can send it to people. You can send it, like if you see an ambulance zooming by, you can send Reiki to the ambulance. And I send it to who's ever in the ambulance, the first responders, the doctors who are waiting for that, for the family of the people who are in there. And I always send it with kind of a for the good of all and with harm to none kind of caveat. May you receive this if this is what you want. We don't want to force it down anyone's throat if they don't want it, right? That's not cool. So we don't do that. But if you're available to it, it's like offering something. If you're available for it, here it is. And then, yeah, you can I've had people shift their money by like raking their bank statements. I started my lawnmower once using Reiki. I swear to God, that's true. Like it just wouldn't start and I'm like raking it and then boom, it starts. So, I think that there's so many applications that we can do. And a situation, I love that, like the complex situation of house buying, which is so fraught with potential pitfalls and suddenly it not working out. So we can use it for that. We can use it like we use prayer, basically, anytime we use prayer. And I think of Reiki as like prayer with a little oomph to it, you know?
Well, you read my mind because that was my next question. What are the similarities and the differences between Reiki and prayer? So thank you. Isn't it wonderful the way the universe works?
Yeah.
How long have you been, and I would assume, I shouldn't, but I will assume that you are a Reiki master. How long have you been practicing?
So 27 years. So I was a Reiki master in 1999. But before I was a Reiki master, I was a psychic, and that was kind of my major gig. I started working as a psychic when I was 19. I was back in the 80s, like way, way, way in the way back. And I didn't know what I was doing. So after a little practicing as a psychic for a little while, I went back to school and became a therapist. And for a long time, I combined Reiki and therapy, which was a great combination. And then in 1999, I learned Reiki and added that to the mix. And these days, I don't do so many private sessions anymore because I'm very busy teaching and writing books. I have a big online school and I train psychics, empaths, and and healers how to fully step into their gifts, healing gifts, their psychic gifts, their intuitive gifts. So they can go out and do the work they want to do in the world. I really think the world needs all the healers it can get. And my mission in life is to create an army of healers to go out there and save the world. Because I'm pretty sure it needs saving right about now. And that's sort of, yeah, that's what I'm doing now. I had a very busy private practice for 25 years, 25 clients a week. And I've done over 15,000 sessions in my life, which I only know because my publisher made me count. And that was in 2018 when that book. So that book's been out for a while. That book came out in 2018, and I've written a bunch of other books since then. Books on if you're an empath, there's one called Energy Healing for empaths. If you're an empath, how do you handle that? And my most recent is called Awakening Your Psychic Ability, which is more on the psychic development side of things. But I think I wrote The Art of Psychic Reiki because I had been working as a psychic for so long. And then I became a Reiki practitioner, and I can always combine them, always use them together. And that was a bit radical for the Reiki world. You know, I had a student that came to me to study Reiki, and she said, you know, this popped my psychic open and my Reiki teacher didn't know what to do. So she told me to just cut it out, just stop doing all that psychic stuff. That's not Reiki. And she said that she didn't know what to do with that. So she came to study with me because I teach them together. Really. Yeah.
Well, Lisa, Campion has a lot of books here. There's the Psychic Awakening Journal. It is guided prompts to develop your intuition and open up your psychic abilities. There's also the book Awakening Your Psychic Abilities. We also have Energy Healing for Empaths, which you just mentioned. And of course, the latest work is, of course, The Art of Psychic Reiki. As we continue talking with Lisa Campion, I'm Reverend Dr. D. This is Tell Me Your Story. Reiki, Lisa Campion, define it for us. Can you give us a little background on it, a little history on where it comes from, as far as the one who sort of I'm going to say discovered it, not invented it, but discovered it. I don't know. It seems like I remember reading it was like a few thousand years ago, or maybe it was 100 years ago. All I know is there was also this edict that you were not to share the symbols. You weren't to publish them. And yet today, I see them all over the place. Anyway, can you give a little some background on what Reiki, where it comes from and so forth?
Sure. Yeah, it was about 100 years ago. So it was in the 20s, 1920s, that a Japanese Buddhist monk named Usui Sensei. He was really studying spiritual practice. He lived in a monastery, Japanese, Zen Buddhist monastery. And he discovered that by doing a lot of meditation and chi building exercises, you could do hands-on healing. And he always felt that the hands-on healing was a byproduct of spiritual development. And it was really one of his students who created a healing modality out of it. And it was mostly still taught in Japan the same way that it always has been, with these very Buddhist principles. And then it sort of came to the United States through Hawaii. And when it got to the United States, it, really took off. I mean, when I studied it in 1999, it was still a little fringy, still a little on the fringe of things. Nowadays, I mean, I live in New England. I live in Rhode Island, but not too far from Boston, which is where I grew up. And in the big Boston hospitals, some of the best hospitals in the world, there are full-time Reiki staff all the time. Because it's been really researched and mainstream. It's in 800 hospitals across the country, have figured out that Reiki is really good for managing pain with non-narcotics. It's used to treat depression and anxiety. It's used to treat with help with cancer patients. And it works, it's a hands-on healing technique, a little bit like acupuncture without needles is a good way to think about it if you've never had it before. And Reiki really comes in at the frequency of unconditional love. And so the practitioner, you can do it hands off remotely, but I always like to work with my hands on people.
Mm-hmm.
Sends this healing energy into your body through their hands. And it's gone from being kind of woo woo, like what is that stuff, to being very well studied, well documented, and used in hospitals all over the place now.
Well, we're talking with Lisa Campion. She is a psychic counselor, spiritual healer, a Reiki Master Teacher with over 30 years of experience. And we're so glad that she's with us to talk about the art of psychic Reiki. Explain to us the difference there between regular Reiki, or unleaded, if you will, and psychic Reiki. What's the difference?
That was so cute. Well, psychic Reiki is my own version of Reiki. And like I said, because I was teaching psychic development at the same time I was teaching Reiki, I really noticed that studying Reiki really pops open people's psychic. Especially that level 2 attunement. If you take level 2, your chances are good. Your whatever intuitive and psychic abilities you have, which everybody has some, um, open a little more. And to me, that seemed like a really beautiful thing, because as a healer, wouldn't it be great to use our intuition, to use our psychic ability in service of our clients? Like, it's helpful to know us maybe where to put your hands on somebody, or to have more intuitive information about that person. And sometimes real psychic information comes through, like, maybe you see glimpses of a past life, or maybe somebody dead granny comes in to deliver a message. And I thought, wow, that's just, let's add more toolkits to the toolbox for healers by helping them develop their intuition and psychic abilities. So that's really what it is. It's a combination of Reiki training and psychic development. It was pretty radical. The book that I published, when I published it, people got all mad because you were right. I wrote the symbols in there. Many people do. You can find them all over the internet if you Google them. It's not like a big shock. But in the past, to answer the question you asked before, in the past, Reiki was taught as an oral transmission, and it was considered like not okay to sort of write things down or show people the symbols. Like, it was mystical knowledge that should be kept from your average person. But I felt like if we don't write the symbols down, people, they're like Japanese characters, a lot of them, and it's really easy to make mistakes if we don't have a clear image of them. It's kind of like, playing the game of telephone, where every teacher changes them a little bit, and then those mistakes get passed down. So I think publishing them is helpful, but did cause a bit of a stir, and so did my book, who, for the Reiki purists, thought it was like not okay to add in psychic development to the talk conversation about Reiki. But to me, it's really necessary to do that.
Well, I don't think you can separate the two. I think that there's a psychic element to the whole Reiki process.
Yeah, I
I
agree.
remember the very first absentee healing that my wife and I did was on my uncle, my father's brother. And we asked for a picture. They gave it to us. So we took it home. We gave him an absentee healing. And I only phrase it this way because adds a little emphasis. At the funeral of my uncle, my mother explained to me what happened following our absentee healing. And my uncle got really angry and threw his medications across the room. He got into his wheelchair, wheeled across the compound where his family lived, more of a ranch, I guess, to where his son's house was. Went into his son's house, and I guess they had a few hours of father-son closure because, he knew he was terminal. And that then struck a chord in me going, well, but wait a minute. Okay, I understand that I'm not supposed to have any intent in sending this energy, but he died. He didn't heal. And it wasn't until my wife's nephew, who had leukemia, passed away, that it really dawned on me that my uncle and my nephew, my wife's nephew, both won, in that you cannot lose. People will say, oh, he succumbed to his cancer. No, he didn't. He won because he's free of the body that was contaminated. Now, if it goes into remission, even better. You win for a little more time on the planet with family and friends and so forth. And so there really is no win-lose situation when it comes to that. And I began to understand better what I was taught in my classes as learning to be a Reiki master. Why it's so important to have no intent. That it's not up to
Yeah,
you. It's
that's right.
like electricity and the wires.
Hmm.
The electric company doesn't tell you what you can and can't use it for. They just provide it,
That's right.
and then you plug in whatever it is that you want. So it's the same kind of thing, isn't it?
That's so beautiful. God, thank you for sharing that story. That was really touching. And you're absolutely right. Who are we to say living is better than dying? Albert Schweitzer said there's a cure for every disease if you consider death a cure. And we don't know. We have to put that in God's hands. We don't know what is the best for somebody, and maybe the best for them is getting healing and getting better. Maybe the best thing for them is passing away. And I wonder if the little boost you gave your uncle gave him the energy to get in his wheelchair and get over to the sun and have the conversation,
Yeah.
which is the real healing. And if you hadn't given him that little boost, maybe that wouldn't have been able to happen, and that really needed to happen, right? So I've trained a lot of people. There's Reiki's really often used in hospice work, and I've trained a lot of hospice workers to use Reiki, and a lot of times they tell me people take the energy to have the courage to finally cross over if they're afraid to do that, or it opens up the connection, and all the angels come down and all their loved ones come down, and they finally get cross over peacefully if they've been lingering and afraid to go. So we do have to drop our agenda. Just like with prayer, we have to drop our agenda because we have to put that in God's hands. We don't know what's the best. We offer. Like, I love the analogy of turning on the current. We turn on the current, and then
Yeah.
that person takes the energy and they do what's best for them to do with that. And it's not really our business, honestly.
Lisa Campion's my guest here on the program. LisaCampion.com is the website. That's LisaCampion.com. We'll be linked to that website, and I hope I did spell it all correctly. And if I didn't, I'll get it again later. But we're going to take a quick pause here to just remind you that you are listening to New Paradigms for a New World, where we're giving you choices and knowledge of those choices. It's Tell Me Your Story. I am Richard Dugan, Reverend Dr. D, along with my very special guest, returning guest, Lisa Campion, talking about Reiki. And of course, her latest work is The Art of Psychic Reiki. And I am quite an observer of the backgrounds and foregrounds of people when I'm doing these programs, especially using the Zoom format and platform. And I notice I'm curious about your own personal philosophy, where you started, maybe how you were raised, and where you are today. The reason I ask that is because of the cross you have around your neck.
Yeah. I my parents were Unitarian. I grew up in New England, and I grew up in a very ecumenical. My parents weren't particularly, they were sort of like generally Christian, but not in Unitarian isn't a particularly Christian church. But I've had some really profound experiences with some of the ascended masters, including Jesus. And I'm a big Jesus fan. I'm a big Jesus girl, even though I didn't grow up inside that religion. I've had very meaningful personal encounters with Jesus, and so I wear a cross as a sign of love and respect and devotion, right? And I wanted to be a minister, so I went to seminary when I was younger, and I didn't get through it because I got divorced. I had to drop. I dropped out of seminary because I my kids were too little, and I couldn't be going to grad school with little
Yeah.
kids like that. So, but I have like a lot of faith. I'm a person of faith, and my faith is very ecumenical. Like, it's not particularly pinned to a religion, one religion or another.
Mm-hmm.
Many religions, and I studied comparative religion in college. So, but there's something really about the heart for me, about Sacred Heart, about Jesus's story that really resonates with me. So I'm kind of a Jesus girl, and not in the dogmatic religion-y kind of way, but more of my own experience with him.
You know, what's interesting about that is that certainly many people in surveys claim to be spiritual and not religious. And yet I
Hmm.
will take the biblical definition of religion and say, I hope that you will change your mind on that and start taking care of the widows and the orphans and the unfortunate. That is what true religion is. That is how it is defined in
Mm,
the Bible, if we choose. But I'm
wow.
also finding that there are people who no longer, they are followers, they are believers, but they no longer call themselves Christians. They now call themselves followers of Christ
Yeah, that would be
because
in my category. Yeah.
the historic reference to the word Christian, that was a slap in the face. That was considered derogatory to
Mm,
by the powers that be towards those followers of Jesus. At least as far as I recall from the history that I read
yeah.
during that time and the time after. And it's like, why would you take on that? That would be like taking on symbols of people you defeated in war. That makes no sense. Okay.
Right.
So anyway, it's interesting how people are starting to better define themselves, at least as far as, let's say, their philosophical leanings. And I find that rather interesting, that
Mm,
they're not staying with the I guess some you might say the sheep or sheeple
yeah.
mentality, you know?
I think we start in our spiritual evolution often inside of a religion. It gives kind of the well-worn path, like here's the clearly defined path.
Hmm.
In general, they have pretty good rules of, living. And we don't always follow them, but it's not bad guidelines for living as a decent human being, and I think as we spiritually evolve, we kind of come out of the box and we form our own relationship with God. I say God, you could say divine source, whatever you want to call it. Um, and that becomes a personal thing. And I think that's what spirituality is. It's our personal exploration of our connection to universe, God, divine source, in a personal relationship outside of the confines of the box that sometimes religions go in, put us into. That's what I think, anyway.
Well, I just am I have to say that my 15 years at a Christian radio station was quite an education from my
Wow.
perspective. And also when I would talk to different individuals about where they
Mhm.
were philosophically and as far as their faith and so forth, and the things that they chose to believe. And it gave me hope for the future. And I still have
Mm.
that hope because what we are being inundated energetically by the outside world, whether you want social media, the news, this group, that group, the other group, my personal belief is that's a minority. That is a small pocket of people, a small population, and that the rest of us who maybe not are not as vocal, we're the majority,
Yeah, I agree
and
with you.
we're the ones that are guiding. I'm curious as to your perspectives on the transformational or evolutionary process of man and how this concept of psychic Reiki and energy work and so forth, how that assists us in evolving and moving forward. And what do you think we're going to look like or be like when we reach the next major evolutionary phase in our in this universe, whether it be the physical world or the spiritual world?
That's an incredible question. I love that question so much. And I think we're in it. I think we're really in the middle of that transition that people are waking up to higher degrees of consciousness. I think it's a shift in consciousness. And as we shift upward, we can call it into the fifth dimension, into the quantum field. People have lots of different names for it. We sort of let go of our over identification with our egoic self, our personality, our personal self, and we think, oh my gosh, there's more to me. There's a higher self. There's a higher level of consciousness that um I can experience that's kinder, it's more empathic. I think we become more compassionate, kinder, and empathic as we evolve spiritually. That
Mm.
an interconnected part of the, oh, interconnected web of life on this planet and in this universe. And that means that all life is sacred. All beings are sacred. And we become like reverent. We have reverence for life. We become the preservers of life. Not, we don't want to kill, we stop wanting to kill people so
Right.
much. And we start
Yeah.
wanting to, offering reverence for the sacredness of life. We go into unity consciousness, seeing ourselves as part of the oneness. And I think it's happening now. And I do think that Reiki is part of it. Reiki, yoga, and meditation are the three gateways that I see people, go through, or people have, sometimes it's crisis, like somebody you care about dies, or you have a near death experience, or something shifts in your life that wakes you up out of the normal everyday hamster wheel of life. And we begin to ask those questions or we have experiences that remind us, that teach us a direct experience of that there's something more there. And I think we're all in that shift. I work a lot with people who are having sudden psychic openings, who are having spiritual crises or spiritual openings, who need mentorship around that, because if you're, it can be quite disorienting or even scary, especially if you're living inside a context where you can't talk about it. You know what I mean? Let's say you are from a religion where it's not okay to be psychic, and all of a sudden your psychic pops open. What do? There are lots of people having these experiences that hide it, that don't have anyone to talk about. I mean, I was lucky. My hippie Unitarian parents didn't drag me to the church and throw holy water on me when I was a child. I was a psychic child, seeing things as a child. I was lucky, but not everybody grows up in or is living in such a open environment for that. However, I do feel like every generation that comes in more awake and aware, and we all have the opportunity to shift our level of consciousness in this lifetime right now. I think that opportunity is on the table.
That's very cool. I love that. And I believe that too, that it's all about choice, which is what my book is about. Choices, 5 steps for life, that we can choose. There are certain elements, though, as far as I have understood, Lisa, that events are going to take place. I mean, the Earth spins around the sun, and the sun moves through the Milky Way galaxy, and it's been described as a spiral. It's not a circle; it's a
That's
spiral
right.
because we're moving.
Yeah.
And there's nothing we can do about that. So this evolutionary process on a grander scale, shall we say, maybe a global scale, there will be those who will be taken kicking and screaming into the next level of human existence. But they can still choose to stay right where they are, to
That's
have the
right.
same kinds of negative attitudes towards themselves and others if that's what they want. But their lives are going to become really, really hard. And it's hard on the body, the mind, the emotions, and our soul when we resist those kinds of things. My analogy is you're laying flat back on your back in a river and you're allowing the current to carry you. You're not a salmon swimming upstream, okay? Yes, some of
Mm.
them make it. I know that, but not all of them. And so I would much rather learn how to go ahead and choose to go with the flow. Not to say that this life on this planet is going to be that easy. I mean, I take a look at the miraculous events that took place for us to buy this home. And that wasn't what we were thinking about back in June. We were just looking for a new place to live because we had to get out.
Mm.
And then the next thing you know, bam, here it is. My wife fell in love with the gas stove and the stairs that will help her exercise regimen. And it's up in the mountains, up in the pines. It's beautiful. And it wasn't easy. I mean, I would say that we chose to get emotional. We chose to allow the monkey mind to kind of take over from time to time. But getting in with the flow, just laying back and letting yourself float down the river, boy, that's a whole lot easier.
Sure is. And I think it's a matter of alignment, Richard. And, what I know about you is you're a person that works really hard on your alignment, you know, to be aligned with your true self, to be aligned with what you want, with your hopes and dreams, to be aligned in the energy of love, and in goodness, general human goodness. You have a deep alignment. And I think when we do that and then we float down the river, the universe has a lot of gifts for us, a lot of abundance, a lot of plenty. It's designed to take care of us. And
Mhm.
and if we don't have that alignment, it's like swimming upstream without a paddle. That's when you lack alignment with yourself and divine source. That's problematic. That's where you have a tough life.
Yeah, yeah, you do.
Yeah.
But this life is incredible. And I will say again, I think that what we went through in these last few months was nothing short of miraculous. I don't know, uh, the universe opened the door. It wasn't that we were looking for that. Any more than back in 1995 when my vision started to go and my doctor suggested a lens implant and said, well, but there's a 50-50 chance that you could lose your sight altogether. And I said, well, then let's go. Let's do it so that I can start adjusting if that were to happen. But it didn't. And the next thing you know, I'm driving in LA traffic. Really? Seriously? Because I had given up and said, hey, if I'm 65 years old and riding a bicycle, that's okay because I know how to ride a bicycle. I also know how to let you know that you're listening to Tell Me Your Story. Lisa Campion is my guest. The Art of Psychic Reiki is the book, and this is Tell Me Your Story. I want to ask you, Lisa Campion, the author of the Art of Psychic Reiki and the website Campion.com, about your psychic ability. Is there a part of it that kind of goes like you're having a group in front of you and they get to ask questions, or you select someone to share something that you're picking up on, that you're being given from spirit?
Mine is always a question based thing. I don't read people without their permission, first of all. So I would never, randomly walk up to somebody and give them a reading without asking their permission. First of all, it takes effort. So I don't
Sure.
really want to do that. But also it's sort of my my ethics. And I talk a lot about ethics of our psychic, how we use our psychic with good ethics.
Hmm.
But I do one-on-one sessions and I do group readings called the Soul Salon, which is really fun. I take 8 people. We go on Zoom and everybody asks each person asks a question and I read in front of the group that question. It's really a beautiful experience. So my the way my psychic works has always been ask me a question and we start from there.
I would think that it wouldn't be fair to ask the question, so what message do you have for me today? Because that is so random, it's so wide open rather than something more specific. And I'm
Yeah.
going to, if you don't mind, and you don't have to if you don't wish to in this context, because we didn't set it up ahead of time. One of my guests, I have her regularly on the program. Her name is Lumari of Lumari.com. And we talk about all kinds of different things. This last program we did was on celebration and celebrating, how important that is. But she made a comment to me after the program, or actually, it was during the program near the end, in regards to our house. And she said, oh, your house likes you two, both my wife and I, and also says that your wife is cute. And I said, wait a minute, would you repeat that, please? Seriously? And I just thought that was so cool. And I'm still trying to feel comfortable. I think each day it's helping, but more comfortable in the house. But I'm curious as to whether or not you pick up on the energy of places as
Mhm.
opposed, in addition to maybe people.
Yeah, I think I can do that. And lots of people can. Your friend was doing it, that way. And I think places have like a sort of a morphic field.
Hmm.
I don't. Do they have their own consciousness? I think of a house that a lot of humans have lived in establishes like an energy of its own. You know, they call it the morphic field of that place, which is why houses can be haunted or why houses can, feel good. It's kind of the
Mm.
classic haunted house story is the house turns evil. Well, how does that happen? It has like a collection of positive or negative energy that forms kind of like its own, like a little thought form, really, is what it
Mhm.
is. So yeah, I can tune into your house if you want me. Do you want to do that?
I would love to hear what you have to say, what you pick up from this house where we live. Uh, it is fascinating. Like I said, we had no plans on buying. We were just trying to find a place to rent so we could lay our heads at night, you know. And then this opportunity came along. I say the universe opened the way.
I feel like the couple things that I want to say there is that both you and your wife are like what I call frequency holders. And frequency holders are like people who bring the light, literally bring the light down onto the planet, you know, like anchor the frequency of light here. And
Hmm.
there was something about the place, the land, that wanted the light to be there, to be the transmission. It's almost like if you put a radio tower on the top of a mountain, it gets like a bigger reach, you
Hmm.
know? I think that it's probably there, that it was good for you to get out of LA. There was something, a lack of resonance about that. You know, you and your wife were coming out of resonance with that place. If you used to resonate with it, you don't anymore. I feel like there are some health issues that are going to be better for both of you out of this sort of thick Wi-Fi soup of the city, the thick smog of the city, like getting really like um, great air, great sunlight. I can smell the pine trees. Pine is very good for sadness, for helping to dispel sadness. And I think that your wife is sort of a nature girl. Like she needs like that, you know, as a sensitive and as an empath, she needs to be out of the crowds and in a place where she can really ground. I believe that both of you are going to level up your health and your spirituality a lot by getting out of the city and being in such a beautiful place. So for me, it feels more like the land and the general location that's important. And the house was sort of like the icing on the cake, you know, that the
Hmm.
house was like it's in general a happy house. Um, you know, who's ever lived there has been happy. It's got good feng shui. So it's got good like placement on the land. There's good energy flow in there. And so there's an energetic resonance, like a match between you two and the house. And I feel like the houses often feel like dogs to me. They're kind of like they're protectors or they're comforters. You know, they're kind of like loyal sometimes to their people, like dogs are. And your house has this sort of protect and comfort. And I think especially if you talk to the house, if you when you know, since you've newly moved, doing like a little ritual, a little like drop your grounding cord, your root chakra down in the house, tell the house, you know, set your intention about what kind of energy you want to be in the house. It's like it's going to caretake you and pr- comfort and protect is
Mm.
the what's going on. If you want something different than comfort and protect, you should talk to your house and give it a different program. But that's its nature. I also wondered if it's quite sunny because I feel like there's something about the sun and the light that's important for you both.
It is sunny. However, there are a lot of very tall pine trees. And the unique thing about these pine trees is they're pine cones. These aren't your usual short, little stubby things that have the little spiky things on them. These are
Mm.
elongated. And
Mm.
you better not be under one of these pine trees when one of those falls, because they are a little bit on the heavy side. I don't think
Wow.
10 pounds or anything, but they have a weight to them. But they're also very sappy, very
Mm.
sappy. So I don't want to pick them up because it takes forever to get the sap off your hands. But you know, your
Yeah.
description was the thought that came to me of your description was very Native American in terms
Yeah.
of the land, especially. And it is a
Yeah.
hill. The house is built into a hillside.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're going to try to build some steps because the folks who lived here before, they were actually able to create some terraces down below the house that were flat. So you could go down there. Maybe there's a bench down there or what have you, and you can enjoy the wilderness area that we happen to be in. And it really is. It's beautiful. And we're very glad to be here. And we're also very glad that you, Lisa Campion, are with us here on Tell Me Your Story. Well, Lisa, you know, this whole aspect of psychic ability, I know one of the things that I love, my friend David Hawthorne, who is a Vedic astrologer, he wrote a book, of course, called Astroview, I think is what the book is, but it teaches people about Vedic astrology. And it's not that he wants to get himself out of a job, because there are over 8 billion people on the planet. So, he's not going to run out of people who want to know more about themselves.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he also wants to teach people. Do you teach people through the Reiki process or some other how to develop and utilize in their lives that psychic ability? And I'm going to throw one more thing in. I hate to stack the question here, but how is that different from one going within and just trusting their intuition as we promote here on the program?
I do teach psychic development. I have online psychic development classes on my website from all levels, from beginner, intermediate, advanced, and pro. Like if you want to be a pro psychic healer, I've got you. And I do think that we do need classes, and because psychic ability is a lot like musical ability or athletic ability, everybody's got some. And if you want to maximize it, you need, just like if you want to, you could have lots of musical ability, but you still have to practice. You need a teacher, you need lessons, you need practice time with it. And it's when we practice, you have to know a certain, there's a certain information set that knowledge that you need, and then you need practice. And when we do those things, just like if you wanted to maximize your athletic ability or music ability, that's the way to do it. It's very similar. And I think there's a myth that like, oh, you're born psychic and that's all. If you're not, you're out of luck. I don't think that's true. I think anyone can, and I've taught hundreds of people over the years how to maximize their psychic, and I've never run into anyone I couldn't teach if they were willing to do the work. If they're willing to practice, we can do it.
Absolutely. Well, very good. And they can go to your website, lisacampion.com, to find out more about doing just that, right?
Yes. Yep. They're right there on the website.
Got all those classes. You've got the books. You've got the one that we're talking about here on the program called The Art of Psychic Reiki. And we are really thrilled that there are people such as yourself that are out there doing what you're doing to try to, again, make this world a better place for everybody. But it doesn't become a better place unless, and going back to what you just said, unless you work at it. And you have to do that. You have to put the time and energy. I use the example of the migration to and from California. People are leaving California for whatever the reasons are. I won't even go into it, but they're leaving. And I would say to them, on the one hand, well, why don't you stay and try to fix the problems that you see that you're leaving because of? But by the same token, wasn't it the Pilgrims who left England because of the king and his dictatorial and tyrannical reign and so forth? And they didn't have freedom of religion. And so they came here. Well, then I would classify those same people that I just addressed on the one hand. The other hand is you're national patriots because you are choosing to leave a place that is untenable for you. But then the vibration here isn't for everybody any more than the vibration in any other state. I'm from Arizona, and I will go visit mother and sisters and brother. I will never move back there. No more heat for me, please.
Yeah, I'm a New Englander, so I love it up here, even though it's too cold sometimes. The winters are tough here, but the rest of it's a great place for me. I feel like I'm in the right place for me.
Well, my dear friend who has since passed away long ago, her name was Ramona. When we moved to and lived in Santa Barbara before we moved here, she said, you are exactly where you need to be. Now, it was probably 7 or 8 years past her leaving the planet that we have moved. And I think that we have now moved into the next best place for us to be on both, as you mentioned earlier, a physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual level. And I'm excited about the opportunities that I don't even know exist yet. So I'm looking forward to
congratulations on your move. It sounds super it's just the right thing for both of you.
Well, thank you. And it's a three-bedroom, so invitation to you and your significant other, if there is one, to visit. We have a third bedroom. You can stay and enjoy this area, and just one of the things I love.
Hmm.
I wanted to stay by the water, by the ocean,
Mm.
but we moved up here into the mountains, and we still have water. We have two lakes, Lake Gregory and Lake Arrowhead, although you have to have permissions apparently for Lake Arrowhead. But that's okay. There's water up here, and it's beautiful. And I want to do everything I can to maintain my space. Keep it clean and so forth. And so it's a wonderful opportunity for us. And we're sure glad that you have joined us on that journey in this respect with this program that you're on. And we thank you for everything that you've shared with us here today.
Thank you so much, Richard. It was such a pleasure to be here with you today.
I do have three final questions that I ask all of my guests, and I will ask those of you in just a moment. But first, I want to thank you for listening to and watching Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World, where we are giving you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. We are here on Sundays at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., Monday mornings at 1 a.m., Wednesdays at 9 a.m., and Monday through Friday from 8 to 9 a.m., streaming live at all those times at richarddugan.com. We are on YouTube as well as SoundCloud, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, Stitcher, Player FM, BlackBerry, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and we hope that you will subscribe and click notification. We also ask that you go to Amazon to get a copy of Choices, 5 Steps for Life. That's my book, available in hardcover, paperback, and Kindle. And we would appreciate it if you could support us financially and leave us a tip. Our tip jar is called PayPal, and there are links for Amazon and PayPal right there on the homepage at richarddugan.com. And finally, we hope that you will take the time during this decade of perfect vision, the 2020s, to go within to that quiet, peaceful, calm, still place and listen to that still, small voice. With all that being said, we go to our final three questions. And the first of those is, who is Lisa Campion?
I'm kind of like a introverted, quiet, a little science fiction geek, little nerdy, little geeky. I mean, when I'm not doing my mission to, save the planet, sort of at home in my garden and geeking out on sci-fi.
What gets you up in the morning?
I go back to the mission. I would get up early every day because I'm writing another book right now, and I feel like I'm writing in my sleep, and I get up, I'm like, I gotta capture that. I don't know, I'm very mission focused, and I just want to continue to impact and help as many people as I can while I'm here.
And finally, what was your best day?
Oh gosh, I really want to go. I got to say, there's three of them, and they're the days my children were born. For
Wow.
sure. Yeah, they're being a mom has been one of my favorite part of my life. So I cherish those days.
Well, I'll tell you, it's exciting to get up early. I get up early every morning with or without the alarm. It just happens. And I could say, well, it's because of our cats. Well, it is, but it isn't. I mean, because I just can't stay in bed for very long once it hits 5 or 5:30 in the morning.
Mm.
And I get up and I come into the studio and I start to putter around in terms of taking care of little things here and there. And that's just me. And I don't plan on changing it. And I do stay up late sometimes. I don't necessarily sit there looking at my phone with my earbud in my ear. I will choose a long form. Maybe it's a series of episodes of a particular a comedy, like MASH or what was the other one I was looking at the other day? I can't remember off the top of my head. That's strange. But anyway, I like comedies. So I'll just put the phone down and I just listen. Oh, it was Night Court. That was it. Night Court.
Mhm.
And
Classic.
yeah, I just like to have that sound going into my ear. Or comedians with a feature they've got on there called Dry Bar, I think is what it's called, something like that. And these comedians come on. It's clean comedy, and it's funny, and I love to laugh. I'm not necessarily laughing while I'm listening. I'm just maybe chuckling inside. But I love
Mhm.
that release and relief. It's really kind of nice.
That's sweet.
Well, thank you again. I really appreciate it. And let's get together again when your new book comes out. Is there a title yet?
Yeah, it's called Sacred Reparenting, Spiritual and Intuitive Healing for Your Inner Child. It'll be out sometime in 2026.
I like it. Well, please keep us informed. Get in touch with us. We'd love to have you on to talk about that.
Great. Thank you so much and have a beautiful day.
You too. Thank you for listening to and watching Tell Me Your Story. And until our next broadcast, podcast, videocast, love to Lal. Jeanette, I'm still listening. Dad, continue to be happy because I am. Smokey, I'll see you on the other side. Mike, thanks for being in my life and letting me be in yours. And to my dear friend Zorro, aho, aho.